Greetings, ladies and gentlemen of the United States Rock and Roll Spot Connect. We're actually with the weekly comic book roundup. Okay, so first off, we've got Avengers number 22. Where we left off, the Avengers were celebrating for the most part. However, Robbie Reyes, the current Ghost Rider, was still a little apprehensive about everything that had been happening to him and concerning him. So, we start off in Hill Rock Heights, part of a neighborhood in East Los Angeles. Robbie's taking his brother to school, and well, Gabe wants Robbie to go faster because, well, hey, who doesn't like going fast in a muscle car, right? And then, while they're driving, the car begins talking, and it also takes control and gives in the Gabe's, basically grants Gabe's wish, and they do go faster. Explaining to Robbie that riders don't get to quit. They don't get to go unhaunted. They don't get to stay dead like his parents. Riders have to watch the world burn through melting flesh and screaming scars and unholy spirits. Through flaming eyes. And they arrive at the school, and Gabe gets out, and Robbie curses the car a few times and figures he's going to go and get his troubles with the car fixed. Apparently, so he took the car in the middle of nowhere, beat it to pieces for hours, slit the tires, tore the engine apart, and set it all on fire. And then, once it was nothing more than a smoldering, ruined husk, he buried it in the desert. Took a bus back home, covered in soot, oil, and broken glass. And there was the Hell Charger, waiting for him. Good as new. And he swears he could hear the Charger laughing. We now find out that he's been telling the story in Avengers Mountain, and Blade says that apparently the Charger is still laughing. He also explains his history to the team. Now, his parents disappeared years ago, and he'd been raising his little brother Gabe since he was just a kid himself. One night he was street racing because him and Gabe needed the money. And some whacked out drug dealers gunned him down, but the car brought him back as Ghost Rider. Turns out the car was possessed by the soul of a dead serial killer. His Uncle Eli. And he explains he used to hear Eli's voice urging him to be more brutal when he take down the neighborhood gangbangers. But he hadn't heard Eli's voice in months. Thought it was under control, but also, what happened with the vampires, where they basically turned him into their own monster. Blade explains Robbie's Ghost Rider. And he's run with enough spirits of vengeance to know there's only one hard and fast rule when it comes to riders. Whatever you think you know is sure as hell a lie. Ghost Rider, and he goes on to explain, Ghost Riders have been around for the entirety of human history. We still don't really know their origin or true purpose. Some say they were God's original judgment on his most regrettable creation, us. Others say it's a curse, one that fools usually bring on themselves when making a deal with some devil or another. Robbie promptly disputes this by claiming he didn't make a deal. But Blade counters that, okay, that's fair, but maybe your uncle did. And there's also the possibility that, Robbie's the unluckiest street racer in the world. But whatever the case, There they all are with a serious murder car problem. His plan is to, well, his solution is using the Hellfire shotgun on it. Blade tried calling the riders he knows for help. Apparently, Danny Ketch answered drunk and hung up, and nobody's seen Blaze for weeks. And Robbie mentions that he had a weird dream about Blaze not too long ago. Dreamt that Blaze was the king of hell. Blackadder suggests for what they're going to do, Robbie transform, and so he begins. However, it's much more painful than usual, and it seems like it's more him being burned. And so it seems honestly kind of comes off as the car attacking Robbie. Captain Marvel tries punching it, but every hole she punches in, it grows right back. And the shotgun's not doing dick to the car, which makes Blade figure it needs a Hellfire bazooka to kill it. But Robbie fully changes and explains that he's got better than bazooka. They've got Robbie. And then the expert that T'Challa summoned arrives. Damon Hellstrom, the son of Satan. Meanwhile, in Turkey, Thor, Iron Man, and Okoye are investigating some of the fallout from the War of the Realms. And Hulk, who is taking care of some of the Muspelheim grub mines. Turns out something was found a cave was found during the War of the Realms. So they journey forth into it, and a box is found, which has a fossilized Iron Man helmet in it. And there also appear to be the remains of a human skull. Back at Avengers Mountain, they get ready for an exorcism, and Hellstrom gives Blade a breathing gun, one of the arch weapons of hell. It's certainly more powerful than the Hellfire shotgun he's got. Hellstrom tells him that if things get out of hand, or he can't control the forces that he's about to unleash, or if hell's help him, he should become possessed himself, the gun will begin to hiss. That will be Blade's cue to use it to first shoot the rider and then shoot Hellstrom. Then empty whatever's left of the car and hope that that's enough. So, they begin. And Hellstrom asks that Captain America leave the room, as he doesn't have the stain of hell rooted deep in his soul. But Cap refuses, and well, he begins the ritual, and then Robbie ends up in the traffic jam in hell that he was in months ago during the fight against the vampires. But a voice is calling to him, asking if he thought he could just throw away the spirit of vengeance, and explaining that that's not how it works. But this person will take it off his hands, the Ghost Rider way. After all, he's Johnny Blaze, so he'll raise Robbie for it. We that's the end of the story. However, we finish. We got back one of the various Absolute Carnage backup stories, starting off in with the wind blowing a newspaper in San Francisco saying "Homeless Exodus" on the cover. Meanwhile, in Los Angeles, Hawkeye and Hawkeye, Clint and Kate, are playing ping pong with one another. There are homeless people wandering saying Clinton. And also, it should be noted that Kate is beating Clint badly at ping pong. Now the homeless are beginning to say Clinton Francis, and then adding Barton. Then Kate offers, let's want to go 3 out of 5 instead of 2 out of 3. But well, Clint figures that he's already down 2 games. But unbeknownst to them, the homeless are converging upon them, saying 3 words: Clinton, Francis, Barton. And that is where the issue ends. Something of note is the carnage, the spiral, the null spiral, and the various splatters on the cover. Moving on to Captain America number 12, where we left off. Cap, with help from the Daughters of Liberty, had escaped the Myrmidon and had managed to take Baron Strucker hostage, or prisoner. We open up apparently with some Hydra goons being attacked by Captain America in the midst of a shootout with police. And Nick Fury is being shown the footage and told about it. And Fury is then asked what he's going to do about whoever it is wearing the mask, and or Steve Rogers in general, who has freed some of the deadliest criminals in the world from prison, and is himself a fugitive from justice. When Steve arrives back home, he and Sharon chat about things, and she's worried about him. And she goes through his rap sheet: intrigue with a foreign power, freelance espionage, assassinating a decorated general, absconding from federal custody, and world conquest. And when he counters it, asking what she wants him to do is because the world needs Captain America, she counters with, no, Steve needs Captain America, but Captain America is dead. They talk a bit longer, and she says, perhaps what is needed right now isn't Captain America, but rather Steve Rogers. And so Fury contacts Bucky. They say, "Hey, I'm going after Steve." You know, and he pretty much, if I don't bring him in, they're going to send someone worse after him. Turns out that Bucky is working with Dryad and presumably also the Daughters of Liberty. They've got at the very least Baron Strucker. They're they're going through what he knows. Next up, Steve talks with the Daughters of Liberty. Kind of going get a long list of euphemisms for women. But he's curious about the history of the team. And apparently the Daughters of Liberty have been fighting for the dream since the dream was conceived. They're as old as America, older in some ways. Governments come and go, but the dream is old. Older than Captain America. The dream is eternal. And so, Cap goes down to the Americave? I mean, it's... You've got display cases of all of his various costumes ready to go. The place for him to hang up his shield. But he puts on the Commander Rogers uniform from back in the heroic age, and activates the energy shield on his wrist. And Sharon gives a bit of a... Steve asks, Captain America really is dead. And Sharon says yes. But Steve Rogers, with all his courage. Steve Rogers, who sacrificed for us all. Steve Rogers, the super soldier who saved the world time and time again. Steve Rogers, who does not quit. Steve Rogers lives. Then we've got ourselves another backup story. Bucky and Sharon looking at Strucker, basically going through the intel in his head, trying to get all the intel out of his brain that they can. Turns out they've got someone else working with them. Peggy Carter, who appears to be younger than her niece, and has a nose ring now. Which, okay, hey, that's cool. And that is Captain America number 12. Really hope that Marvel gets Cap back on a regular schedule, so to speak. Moving on to Powers of X number 1. So, we got a little bit here. A little bit of... here's the thing, Charles. It's not a dream if it's real. Which is a credit to Moira McTaggart. Okay, so... we have 4 points in time, the book will be following 4 points in time. Year 1, the dream. Year 10, the world. Year 100, the war. Year 1000, ascension. So we begin in the Year 1 era. Charles Xavier is walking through a fair, sits down on a bench, and a young woman sits down next to him. And they begin talking. And She explains that you'd be blind to notice that he's very obviously having a good day. Then she also goes on to say that she saw him sitting there and thought to herself, there he is, what she was looking for, the strong man. And he says he was smiling because he had recently had the most wonderful dream of a better place in his world in it. And so she says to him, well, here's the thing, Charles. It's not a dream if it's real. This takes him off guard. And she asks if they know, and Charles asks if they know one another. And she explains they go back a ways. And then, so, back and forth, who are you? And tells him, just read my mind. Why don't you read my mind? Read my mind and see. And he does, and discovers something in there. Moving on to year 10, Krakoa. Mystique and Toad arriving at after they're running with the Fantastic Four, and go in their separate ways. Mystique goes to see Magneto with the intelligence that he has, and they begin to discuss. They begin to talk, and even maybe this is actually going to work. Xavier shows up, however. And it turns out that, well, Mystique wants more than just to help her fellow mutant. Of course, she's not the only one with further demands, as Charles himself has further demands. When she turns his argument against him, he simply tells her that they're building a better world, and everyone who would live in it owes something. Now we're at year 100. In an area referred to as the Northern Territory, the Nexus. Sentinels of varying types, both big and small, large and small, as well as human soldiers working with them, are doing what they can to stop the X-Men. And they come upon Silobel, who apparently was born in the kennel, bled as a black-brained telepath, a natural Judas, subversion written into her DNA. But they're being watched by her sister, and Cardinal. So her sister, who appears to be descended from Ilyana Rasputin, goes to save Silobel. Well, Cardinal goes to plant the seed for, well, a portal. It appears that it would appear that this future Rasputin also has the abilities of Piotr, or at least the organic steel abilities. However, she can't save Silobel. And while Rasputin does manage to escape, Silobel is captured. We get an info dump on what what happened leading up to this. We go end up in the Tower of Nimrod the Lesser, and the human machine monolith. Nimrod the Lesser is attended by Omega Sentinel, and it seems that Salabel has been brought to them. This Nimrod is interesting, to say the least. Truly sentient. In fact, apparently Salabel was once a hound, though Nimrod apologizes to her. And he finds in the end he's actually glad that that all the hounds, the future, basically the conclusion of the hounds, failed so miserably. Bad ideas, after all, should die a bad death. Salabel looks at him and says, if it takes 1,000 years, they will endure and erase Nimrod the Lesser from existence. But they're having trouble. They can't get the information they need from her. And one of the soldiers suggests maybe they should give her a bath, see what comes out in the wash. Nimrod's all for this. But there's a downside to giving her a bath. Parts of the data comes without a clear window of recovery. You could learn what you need to know tomorrow, or decades from now, whether the information is useless. Well, what else are they going to do? And so, Nimrod the Lesser explains what is going to be done. And he also what it is a repository, a monument to understanding the mutant anomaly. But sometimes innovation has a biological cost, and when you add to that your mutant kind's unwillingness, Salabel's unwillingness to let them know the things they need to, necessity narrows their options even more. And he explains that all the chambers in the room will be full of Salabel's kind. Their bodies, and more importantly their minds, will be submerged in femto fluid, where they'll be suspended and distilled down to nothing but data, curated by an AI of his own making, his very own brood. Unfortunately for one of his to flourish, many of yours must perish, including Salabel. And he asks if she try to find it in her heart, as she fades away to nothingness, try to find it in her heart to forgive him. And she says that she's not afraid to die for what she believes in. Omega Sentinel counters with, it's good that she's willing to die for a cause, though causes of long seem to be fatal for mutants. Going on that while this is a kind of death, it's not one she can escape from. There's also a brief write-up on the kennel. Then you also get the No Place hub. Cardinal and Rasputin are returning. Percival, the two mutants there were two they went with, Percival and Salabel. Percival is definitively dead, though and they presume Salabel probably is. And she's greeted by Magneto, now wearing green, Wolverine, who's an old man and still wearing his orange and brown costume. Well, it looks like Zorn, and It honestly kind of looks like Groot, but I could probably wrong. There's also a brief write-up on the surviving mutants. Then we fast forward to year 1000. Salabel is still in the tank and still being processed. But now it is the archive of Nimrod the Greater, the mutant library. There's a young mutant talking, wearing what appears to be something similar to a cerebro helmet, explaining that they're losing them. There's nothing she can do to prevent it. There's too much machinery floating around inside there, not enough soul to save, let alone copy. A small orbiting machine tells her that the blame is not her, the librarian's, but rather its own. He simply wasn't built to maintain integrity for a millennium. And it turns out this orbiting machine is Nimrod. The librarian goes on to explain that he did exactly what he was made to do, created a collective consciousness of mutantdom, a living database of Homo Superior, in order to provide a tactical advantage in a war. But it turns out that war was pointless and useless. And it seems that humanity is practically extinct at this point. There appears to be a preserve with humans within. Possibly a new Adam and Eve. And we end with a quote from Rasputin saying, well, the character Rasputin, not Rasputin, Mad Monk. You've forgotten that machines have no soul and that the humans lost theirs a long time ago. Next we get The Curious Case of Moira X. Then, Hello, Old Friend. And that is where the issue ends. Moving on to Venom Annual. This might actually be the first, one of the few that's actually properly listed as a Venom Annual. Oh, this falls into the Acts of Evil label of the other annuals. So anyway, a ship is approaching Alpha Flight. The vessel Despermundo. It's explained that the regent of Despermundo is the ship of the regent of Sekarf 9. Well, it turns out that said regent is wanted in multiple systems for poaching, assault on a protected cosmic entity, possession of illegal quantum weaponry, possession of a level 4 doomsday device, and 316 counts of trespassing. Her reason for the regent's reason for visiting Earth is she's hunting a monster. Venom in New York. Venom comes upon basically two cosmic henchmen. But they're a distraction, and Eddie is captured, brought aboard the ship, where he faces Lady Hellbender, the monster queen of Sekarf 9. And the two fight it. The two duke it out. However, Hellbender manages to very simply remove the symbiote from Eddie. She believes his symbiote to be weak, but is actually surprised that Eddie survived having the symbiote removed and is still conscious, no less. And so she goes to talk to Eddie, tells him about herself and what's coming for him while his symbiote is being cataloged. Though, of course, it does manage to escape because, well, yeah, it's Venom. Makes its way through the ship. And to Eddie. Then Venom goes for round 2 with Lady Hellbender. Now this time she doesn't have her anti-symbiote gloves, and so, yeah. Turns out, though, that before they left, and that's a surprise, apparently all of her specimens have been released. We also get a backup story with the origin of Lady Hellbender. Goes back and forth between her hunting a large creature in Texas and her childhood, 20 years previously, somewhere in the galaxy. Apparently her father gambled and, well, he wasn't too good at picking his bet. He wasn't too good at betting, so lost his line of credit, and, well, yeah, he had debts. And so he takes his daughter's favorite pet, bees, and basically sends it into a fight with another animal, another cosmic beastie. Bees is killed, and it turns out that Hellbender's father bet against bees, and so therefore won. Then we see the preserve that Lady Hellbender has. It seems they're all in either stasis or they've been, or either way, they're on display and not aware. Wouldn't necessarily claim that they're definitely dead, but that's a distinct possibility. That is where the issue ends. Honestly, I kind of like the origin story of Lady Hellbender more than the A story, but it was actually a pretty decent A story too. Moving on to Death's Head #1, which I've been waiting for all month. This makes me so happy. Okay. So for those unfamiliar, Death's Head is an intergalactic bounty hunter who's a robot. It has an interesting way of speaking. And tends to leave a lot of damage in his wake. Most recently, he popped up in Infinity... I think it was the Countdown to Infinity Wars, or Infinity Wars Countdown Darkhawk story, where he had gone to bring in Darkhawk. So we begin with him basically figuring, okay, what the hell's going on, and trying to reboot himself and see what he can see. And apparently he's being used as an amp by a band. And he restores from his last backup, which was 13 weeks, 4 days, 4 hours ago. The outskirts of Centauri space. Apparently, Yondu had put a price on Death's Head's, well, head. Turns out that so he was looking for Yondu. They had a deal. Yondu pays for upgrades. He brings in the bounties, line of credit. But he realized that he was getting slow about bringing in bounties. Every time he needed repairs, upgrades, a new aimbot from whatever, the charge went to his account. And so Yanni felt he was being fleeced. Well, he's already got newer, sleeker bounty hunters who are right there, and so he goes after them. So he ends up fighting them. Yondu insists that the other hunters get him to the displacement chamber, or as he refers to it, the interdimensional trash chute thingy. And now we find out just how it is that alien garbage ends up on Earth. Interdimensional trash chute thingies. And he ends up in a dumpster in New York. Now he comes to, and yeah, he kind of surprises everyone by getting up and, talking. The man runs away. Also at the show, however, are Wiccan and Hulkling, formerly of the Young Avengers. So they were the kid to fight Death's Head, and they managed to contain him. Hulkling suggests, maybe they should call, someone for help. And Wiccan explains, he's called Kate a few times, but she hasn't called back. No one's seen Patriot, the original Patriot, in a while. If anyone has America's number in this reality, America has a number in this reality, he doesn't have it. And then Teddy suggests, maybe he could call his brother. And Death's Head comes to in their bathroom. Bides his time. Well, Wiccan looks at the various realities to see what there is to see when it comes to them and Death's Head. Which he admits is not usually the best idea in the world. Well, Death's Head has made his way out of the bathroom and attacked Hulkling. Though Death's Head does end up shooting the mattress, where they discover underneath an extra-dimensional punk rock version of Death's Head, which probably got summoned by Wiccan on accident. Oops. And that is where the issue ends. Alright, that's it for this portion of the roundup. As always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Links to my Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, and PayPal are in the description box down below. This is Rock and Roll Spock signing off saying, live long and rock hard.